Hello, come in, come in. Oh, hello, hi, nice to see you. Have a seat. Ah, it's been a while because I've been away. I was actually been away in. I'll just close the door. I've been away in America for a fortnight, and then I was up to York, staying in the palace of the Archbishop of York, in order to give a talk to bishops' spouses. That was interesting. Anyway, I'm back, labouring in my room. But it's an interesting bit of labour. This, you've probably seen things like this before. These are, oh, you see all they're all printed out like that. You know, it's a big page and lots of margin. But these are the page proofs of the next book I'm bringing out very shortly. It's going to be out, you know, before Christmas. It's called Sounding Heaven and Earth. And it's a poet's corner collection. It's a collection of the little pieces over the last few years that I've been putting in the Church Times. So you'd think it'd be very straightforward to produce it as a book, but of course it turns out for the book form they'd like to have references, at least to the modern, 20th century and 21st century poetry that I quote. And of course I just quote this from mind and memory, and as I'm thinking, I'm writing away. And I don't think of it as an academic thing, so it's not bristling with footnotes. So I've now had the labour, interesting, but in some ways quite stimulating labour, of going through all these old pieces and tracking down the actual book references where I've quoted 4 lines of poetry, and sometimes from memory, so it's occasionally worth correcting them. But anyway, I realise I've quoted Yeats quite a bit, and there's a very mysterious and beautiful early Yeats poem called The Secret Rose, which I don't claim ever to have fully understood, though I know a little bit of the background of it now. But I was just enchanted by it. The wife of a friend of mine did a very beautiful sort of calligraphic thing of it, which I can't lay my hands on at the moment, or I'd show it to you. But I just thought I'd read it to you because we haven't had any Yeats for a while. It's not as well known as, He Wishes Her the Cloths of Heaven, or, When You Are Old and Grey, or The Lake Isle of Innisfree. But I think it's right up there. And what I find very moving about it is the way it moves through the image of the rose to the image of the Saviour, to the image of the crucified. And I think, I've never studied it in depth, but I think that he's at least done some reading of Dante, because of course in Dante the rose is the mystical vision of heaven. At the end he sees all things as like the petals of a rose unfolding from the centre of God's being. So, The Secret Rose by W.B. Yeats. I think of it as a kind of mysterious invocation, really. It's poetry that needs to be chanted. It is about a kind of enchantment. The Secret Rose. Far off, most secret and inviolate rose, enfold me in my hour of hours, where those who sought thee in the holy sepulchre or in the wine vat dwell beyond the stir and tumult of defeated dreams, and deep among pale eyelids, heavy with sleep, men have named beauty. Thy great leaves enfold the ancient beards, the helms of ruby and gold of the crowned Magi, and the king whose eyes saw the pierced hands and rude of elder rise in druid vapour and make the torches dim, till vain frenzy awoke and he died. And him who met fanned, walking among the flaming dew by a grey shore where the wind never blew, and lost the world and Ama for a kiss. And him who drove the gods out of their liss, until 100 morns had flowered red, feasted and wept the barrows of his dead. And the proud dreaming king, who flung the crown and sorrow away, and calling bard and clown, dwelt among wine-stained wanderers in deep woods. And him who sold tillage and house and goods, and sought through lands and islands numberless years, until he found with laughter and with tears a woman of so shining loveliness that men threshed corn at midnight by a tress, a little stolen tress. I too await the hour of thy great wind of love and hate. When shall the stars be blown about the sky like the sparks blown out of a smithy and die? Surely thine hour has come, thy great wind blows, far off, most secret, and in violet rose. It's an astonishing poem. It has these Christian references to the sepulchre and the rood. Then it has all these wonderful references to Irish mythology and the fairies. And it's got this wonderful alternation between deep spiritual yearning and the kind of joys of this world. Several mentions of the wine, those who saw the Holy Sepulchre, or in the wine vat. And that wonderful, the wine-stained wanderers in deep woods. I remember reading that as a teenager and thinking, yes, that's glorious. And then, of course, there's a little reference, I think, to the wandering Angus who pursues the beauty that he's seen in the dawn, the ashling, and leaves everything behind to find her, until he found with laughter and with tears a woman of so shining loveliness that men threshed corn at midnight by a tress. I'm not sure that Yeats, even if we had him in front of us, could tell us what's going on in that poem. It's a kind of dream sequence, but in the end it's about yearning, and the apocalyptic end about the stars being blown like sparks about the sky leads to a kind of beyondness, as something which is symbolized by the far off, most secret and inviolate rose. And I think Dante perhaps knew more deeply even than Yeats what that symbol really points to in the wonderful flowering being of God himself. Anyway, it's a fine poem, and it's a pleasure to share it with you. Nice to see you again.